and the many nearby provinces as well who are starting also to weave. We're also proud and happy to show you and to report to you that the Philippine Handloom Weaving Festival, the first of its kind, has brought together weavers, 120 of them, from all over the Philippines to celebrate, not to listen to government in lectures, but for us to listen to them. A platform where they can actually provide and give us their directions, their aspirations. As a matter of fact, the manifesto of these handloom weavers, an 8-point manifesto, has been made as an output of that handloom weaving festival, and I hope that you'll also be able to see and be able to participate in making it and realizing it. This year, we are celebrating our 59th year here in PTRI, and for us Filipinos, of course, that's already just 1 year becoming a senior citizen. So hopefully, we will be 60 next year, and maybe again taking on a different challenge. But the good thing is, on our 59th year, we highlight Stitching Futures. Stitching Futures has also become the theme of the National Textile Convention, which will culminate next week. The National Textile Convention's Stitching Futures also brings together not just efforts of government, but the effort of the public sector, of the private sector, of the civil society, of our communities, our indigenous communities, and all others who love and who patronizes Philippine textiles. As a matter of fact, Stitching Futures is very aptly described in our new program, which was approved for 2026, and this is the Mananahi ng Barangay. Because we now have fabrics. People now start buying these fabrics. But then these fabrics must be converted. And one of those that we have actually figured out is that there are not much sewers or tailors or dressmakers anymore. If there are, maybe the skills are not anymore up to date. Hence, the Mananahing ng Barangay expands the textile discussion to not just the production or the weaving of the fabrics, but in their conversion, such that when you would be ordering one from the Philippines and you have ordered your size small, you'd exactly be getting what you have actually ordered and be getting them at such appropriate time and also at such reasonable prices. And this is part of our bid to further integrate the industry together. Stitching Futures provide us a leapfrogging opportunity for the industry. A lot of efforts need to be stitched together. A lot of things have to be mended, policy or otherwise. But then again, we as Filipinos remind this very nature of the industry and the very state of the industry to come together as we have had in the previous years, as we have had in our history. That because coming together makes us even stronger, it makes us even bolder. At sana po, sa ating patuloy na pagtangkilik at pagpapalago at pagpapalawig ng telang Pinoy, kasama po namin kayo. Despite the space that keeps us apart, maybe the seas and the mountains, as they say, that keeps us apart, or maybe the temperature difference of the Philippines and Calgary. The distance and the bond has not actually wavered. And we count on you, tayong mga kababayan, na nasa iba't ibang lupalop ng Pilipinas, na patuloy pong manalig at patuloy pong tumalima, sapagkat naniniwala ako at naniniwala po kami na ang Pilipino ay tunay na malikhain, na ang Pilipino ay magaling, na ang Pilipino ay matatag, na ang Pilipino ay matapang, at ang Pilipino ay malikhain. Kaya samahan niyo po kami sa paghabi ng dumadaloy na kwento ng ating pagka-Pilipino at sa pagtagni-tagni ng ating mga pangarap tungo sa isang matatag, maginhawa at panatag na bagong Pilipinas. Magandang umaga po, magandang gabi po dyan sa inyong lahat.
Julius L. Leaño Jr., the director of the OST-PTRI. And for our non-Filipino friends, he was talking about the creativity of the Filipinos, that we are brave and we are resilient, and that let us join together in weaving together our dreams for the weaving culture. So our next speaker is also very interesting because he will be sharing about Philippine tropical fabrics and fashion as growth drivers for creative industries. Our next speaker is Mr. Paulo Federico Ramos, Executive Director of the Department of Trade and Industry, Philippine Creative Industries Development Council Secretariat, who will be joining us also via Zoom. Mr. Ramos was appointed as the Executive Director of the Philippine Creative Industries Development Council Secretariat by none other than the President, His Excellency Ferdinand Ramos. Marcos. Ferdinand. Sorry, it's a different year. Ferdinand Marcos. Yeah. So, with over 21 years of professional experience, Mr. Ramos has built a distinguished career in marketing, brand building, business development, and events management, bringing a deep understanding of both the creative and commercial dimensions of industry development. So, let's all put our virtual hands and our physical hands together. A warm round of applause for Deputy Executive Director, Mr. Paulo Federico Ramos.
Magandang umaga dito sa Pilipinas. Magandang gabi dyan sa Calgary. Thank you, Dr. Julius, for your very detailed and very beautiful presentation of the projects of DOST, PTRI. On behalf of the DTI Competitiveness and Innovation Group, led by Assistant Secretary Naila Bautista, I would like to express my gratitude to the Philippine Consulate General in Calgary for organizing this event. Excuse me. As the Deputy Executive Director of the Philippine Creative Industries Development Council Secretariat, or the PCIDCS, or PCIDCS, as we would call it, I am happy to discuss a topic that sits in the vibrant intersection of heritage and high growth potential, the Philippine tropical fabrics and fashion as growth drivers for creative industries. Now, what is the role of DTI in all of this? The Department of Trade and Industry has long recognized that our traditional textiles are not just remnants of our past, but blueprints for a sustainable future. We see the Philippine tropical fabrics, or the PTFs, as a marriage of agricultural abundance and creative ingenuity. A prime example is the Piñapel project by DTI's Design Center of the Philippines. By transforming discarded pineapple leaves into award-winning specialized paper and packaging materials, we are not just recycling, but we are creating high-value creative outputs from agricultural waste. The Philippine Tropical Fabric Law is a cornerstone of this effort, mandating the use of PTFs for government uniforms. This does more than just ensure a steady market for our local weavers and farmers. It instills a sense of national identity in our civil service and fuels continuous research and development in textile technology. However, the most significant shift in our strategy lies in our role as the implementing body of Republic Act 11904, or the Philippine Creative Industries Development Act, or as we would call it, PCIDA. Through the PCIDA, we are no longer looking at fashion and textiles in isolation. We are viewing them as a critical domain with a larger ecosystem that includes design, traditional cultural expressions, and functional creations. This workshop is a strategic intervention designed to bridge the gap between heritage and the global market by fostering skills development, cultural literacy, and global industry awareness. As the PCIDCS spearheads the development of the country's creative industries, it is our mission to become Asia's premier creative hub by 2030. Now, how will this ambitious goal be accomplished? Last October, the Philippine Creative Industries Development Plan from 2025 to 2034 was adopted by Malacanang. The comprehensive roadmap sets the course for the 10 years of policy. The plan is anchored on a 5-pillar framework called BEAMS, or BEAMS framework. BEAMS stands for the following. B for build creative ecosystems. E for empower creative workforce. A, to accelerate inclusive innovation. M, mobilize financial support. And letter S, seize market opportunities. Now, these five pillars enable us to translate the law into actionable initiatives. Within the BEAMS framework, we have identified leading sectors that have the opportunity to net massive gains, one of these being the fashion and textiles industry. Currently, there are 70,000 workers and 999 establishments in the garments industry, while the textiles industry has over 15,000 workers and 269 companies. Exports of the fashion industry, including garments, textiles, and apparel, were valued at $58.7 million or almost 3.5 billion pesos in 2025. This valuation is projected to grow between 2 to 5% within 2026, showing that the sector is thriving and ready to expand even further. This can be achieved through a strong policy that enables an innovative industry, a cohesive creative brand, and a competitive market. As the country strives to become Asia's premier creative hub by 2030, the fashion and textiles industry is sure to play a key role. Through collaborations between the public and private sectors, we can prove that our crafts are world-class. By investing in our creative industries, we are not just exporting products, we are sharing the soul of the Philippines with the world. We invite everyone to join us in this journey of weaving tradition into the fabric of global commerce. Thank you very much, and mabuhay ang malikhaing Pinoy.
Consulate General in Calgary on Facebook, and you can also watch our live broadcast. Our next speaker, I'm very proud to introduce, and he's here right now. So we'd like to invite to the stage, and let me also introduce Mr. James Pooten. So Mr. James Pooten, yeah, if you can allow me to introduce him. So he's the reason why we're actually so blessed to have a lot of weaves from Sagada. He's a real estate professional with over 2 years of experience, having helped over 70 families successfully buy and sell their homes. He is a partner at the Briones Real Estate Group and operates under his REAL broker. He was born and raised in the Philippines, and James has deep roots in Sagada Mountain Province. He is proudly of Igorot origin. So a lot of us have indigenous heritage here. His background, work ethic, and commitment to service drive his passion for guiding clients through every step of their real estate journey with care and integrity. So everyone, let's put our hands together for Mr. James Pooten. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. My name is James Poten. I am a real estate agent licensed in the province of Alberta, based here in Calgary. But besides my profession, I am of Igorot origin. It is an indigenous group found in the northern part of the Philippines. And both my parents actually came from the mountain province. My father, specifically, was the former mayor of Sagada before the current mayor. And about 2 years ago, my parents came here to visit. Unfortunately, they were caught in an accident that tragically took their life. Going through that ordeal, we needed to bring their remains home, and the Philippine Consulate General here in Calgary has been very helpful to us. Ms. Emma Sarna, Ms. Vida, and her whole team, they were more than happy to help us get through that. So um, myself and my team are very happy to support this event. Um, but enough about myself. I am here to introduce the art and tradition of the Igorot weaving, where Sagada, Mountain Province, has been a pioneer. Sagada weaving is more than just the art or tradition. It is also an icon to all of us in the community because Sagada Weaving is also a business that actually helped put Sagada, put um, put the town on the map. If you look to your left, and even the ones behind me, these are actual products that came straight from the shop, from the Philippines. I'm glad that they're here. We had a little bit of an issue getting them here, but the other two actually also came from a local supplier uh, in Ontario. But as you can see, they're very similar in style. Now, actually, I believe I have one of my uncles here who showed up. Uncle Ben, if you could stand up with your scarf there, just so people could see. There we go. He's donning one of our woven materials that's used for everyday clothing. Thank you, Uncle Ben. Now, well, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Ezra Aranduque, the owner of Sagada Weaving, all the way in the Philippines here in a Zoom call with us. Mr. Ezra is actually also my uncle with his wife, Aunt Julie. They have owned Sagada Weaving for more than 50 years, and they actually also took care of me the same care my parents have done, and I cannot be more proud to have him here with us. So if we can have Mr. Ezra, there he is. Hello. I'd like to pass it on to audio. Uncle, I think you have to unmute your phone. I think that was the
Now,
camera.
is that okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Uh, so, good evening to the people there in Canada and good morning here in the Philippines. Thank you very much for having me. Uh, I don't, I would just want to share to you the history of Sagada weaving. Sagada weaving was established or started in 1960 by my grandmother. Um, they she saw the opportunity of providing jobs for the women folk and at the same time preserving the weaving uh, patterns of the Kankanais, which Sagada is a part of. So it started that way until what it is now. She used to work with cotton, and thanks to PTRI and DOST and DTI for trying to revive the cotton industry. Hopefully, we can again go back to working with cotton. So back to the history of Sagada weaving. Um, she worked also with a partner who took care of the marketing, but basically it was the locals of Sagada who first patronized her works. Somewhere in the 70s, my mom joined her and they started developing fashion apparel apart from our, what do you call this, cultural garbs, like the cultural dresses and G-strings that my grandmother used to make. They started making fashion apparel like bags. In the late 90s, when my wife and I joined, we then started tweaking with the colors, wherein uh, we played with colors that were non-cultural to us. Like we did some lavenders and browns and yellows. So that's about uh, that's probably about Sagada weaving. Now, with this, we being invited here, I would like to thank you, and I would want, I hope that what we're doing now would really help the weaving industry, not only here in the Philippines, but all over, so that we can showcase our culture to everyone. So I'm sorry I'm not used to speaking in public like this. um, and if there are any questions, uh, I hope I can answer them. So, ah,
Thank you so much, Uncle.
thank you once again, and I hope with this thing we can all move forward
Thank you
in
so much,
creating,
Uncle.
preserving and creating the culture of our beloved Philippines.
All right, thank you so much,
So thank
Uncle.
you very much.
I'm sure there will be a Q&A part for us. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. I'd like to pass the mic back to Ms. Vida.
Thank you very much. Agyaman kami, Diyos te Agnina from all of us. So I'm sure you're all excited to have dinner. So we're going to have that soon. And we'd like to also thank Mr. James Pooten for sponsoring our reception for tonight. Yes. So our final speaker who will be joining us from the Philippines for part of the cultural spotlight is Ms. Rambi Lim from Crafted Filipinas. She is a community livelihood development and product enhancement consultant. Ms. Rambi Lim works with Philippine craft communities to preserve traditional crafts while creating culturally sensitive contemporary products through co-creation, product development, and consultations with the artisans. She also believes in crafts as a form of empowerment, helping artisans use their own design knowledge and locally available natural materials for inclusive growth through trade. Part of the team of Accelerate Bangsamoro, she's a key advocate of Crafted Filipinas at Rurungan sa Tubod Foundation and a member of HABI, the Philippine Textile Council. So we're so blessed to have here with us Ms. Rambi Lim of Crafted Filipinas. A round of applause.
Um, the textiles of Sulu is the hablon shabit, most commonly known as the pis shabit, but we'll talk about that later on. So I'd like to show you like the loom or the mechanics. So hablon shabit is a tapestry weave. Um, so this is their loom. They use a susugi, which is a instead of a shuttle, it is a tapestry needle. Then it is strung up with the bulang, which is positioned at the center of the warp to maintain the suspension and uh, arrangement of the threads. Then we also have the utusan, which is the lower cloth beam, which holds the textile in place as well. And then the bibitan, which is the heddle thread, to be able to hold the threads together. And then also poliluen. So in in Tausug Shabit, there are colors that are prominent and that they also use, which is the gadong, which is green, ulit, orange, ayat, red, tulak, violet, and bilo, which is blue. Um, so it is tapestry woven in hand in a backstrap loom. So the main pattern is created with a hook or with this shabit, which is which you can which root word is actually the Filipino of sabit, is to hook so they use the bibitan to create the patterns. And it's also you can see that because of this pattern, it's reversible. There's no front and no back of the pattern. So the backstrap loom is the main frame so that they can create the patterns. We want to also point out that in shabit weaving, I want to emphasize that these intricate geometric patterns are created without any printed or drawn guides. It is decided. It is described as an explosion of creativity because of its entire design exists only in the weaver's mind. But we also have to recognize the mathematical precision. If you notice, if you can see the screen, the warp is actually red and black. And this is the count which guides the weaver in the creation of the design. There is also the mandala effect. The pattern often features 9 squares as a guide to maintain balance and symmetry, which scholars link to mandala as spiritual representation of the cosmos. So what form does the hablon shabit take? So we have, of course, the pis shabit, which is the headscarf worn by men on their heads or on their shoulders as a mark of their position and stature in their society. The pis shabit is normally about 40 by 40 inches wide, and if they're not an expert weaver or a guru, there are 2 weavers who actually weave this side by side. And again, remember that they have no written pattern or guide to this. So it's like a continuation of their understanding. Another form of the hablon shabit is the turong shabit, which is the turong is the veil or headscarf for the women. This is normally about 22 to 25 inches in width with about 1.5 meters length. Um, the kambot shabit is also a common form of the hablon shabit. The kambot is a stole or belt, used as a stole or a belt, which is normally about 10 inches in width and about a meter and a half to 2 meters in length. Then the textiles can also be woven, normally woven for just fabric at about 25 inches width. So this is an example, the baju, which is like a coat. Um, and one of the reasons why the textiles are particular in size is because the textiles are because of the tapestry weave. So if you cut patterns out of it, there is some unraveling that can happen. So normally they just weave it in its true form as it leaves the loom. It is in its product form already. So I'd also like to introduce everyone to certain patterns. So normally in one piece, there are several patterns that or designs that they use. So on the top, we have gilet gilet, which is actually inspired by the shaving, the gillette. Um, so the pattern is something that you see this in its environmental around them. The second on the top is called linis linis. So this is a term used for all patterns with a sharp edge. And then next would be the buli kabo, which is the the butt of a bat. And this is normally sort of like a cross in a diamond with diamond patterns in it. The bayin is mimic is inspired by the toy, the top or from rompo. And then in the lower left hand, we have the kura kura, which is the horse design, which it if seen from above, it's like horses running in the field. Another prominent pattern or design, especially in the pisyabit, would be the bualnangka, which is inspired by the overlapping crosses and spikes of a jackfruit on the jackfruit skin. Then we also have bituon, these diamonds patterns which signify the stars. So the weavers take inspiration from their environment, fruits and fauna and things around them. We'd also like to in connection to the text the talks of Director Julius of PTRI. Traditionally, the threads used by weavers were silk, which they were able to obtain during the maritime Silk Road through the maritime Silk Road. But after the Second World War, this was no longer available to them. So so currently, they get their threads from the textile market in Hulo or from the textile markets in Zamboanga. We do hope that in the future, there will be threads that is possible for them to weave. So we can't talk about SULU textiles without talking about the weavers. In 2005, Darhata Sawabi was awarded the Gawad sa Manlilikha ng Bayan, or she is a gamaba, a national artist for crafts in the Philippines. Sadly, she was not. This was awarded posthumous, but she is continued. Her heritage and her legacy is continued by her niece and her niece's daughter. We have Rohina and her mother. Her mother is very shy, but she is one of the masters of the Pisyabit now in Sulu. We also have Rohina Mohaimer. So we would Ruhina is now a master weaver and has been representing her community as well as her and she has grown it to be able to work with her aunts and her sisters in her community. So if you're interested in Tausug Textiles, I have listed on the page her Facebook page, which is one of the better ways to contact them in Sulu, and hope that you can support them. So my work and my research has been made possible by Accelerate Bangsamoro, a um, a post-conflict economic development program in the Bangsamoro region of Muslim Mindanao. And this has been made possible by Asia Foundation and as funded by the Australian Aid. So I am, again, Ramby Lim of Crafted Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po. Magsupol.
Magsukol din po, Miss Ramby Lim, and thank you very much for joining us all the way from the Philippines. So there's slight changes in our program. So we're gonna have the Q&A because we have our guests joining us from the Philippines. Because I know you all have burning questions. But before the Q&A, I think just so everyone will be excited, we're gonna have a raffle. So, yeah. So for those who are wondering what is a raffle, it's like a door prize. So we're using technology with a spin a wheel to be facilitated by, there you go. Yes, by Diane Montesilio and with prizes from Miss Madge Manaay Morales from House of Musa and her partners. Miss Madge, come on down. Yeah. So we have a lot of people from the community who have these very exciting prizes with us. So if you registered, then your name is going to be in this raffle. So if you're ready, ay wala si Miss Madge. Ayan po. Tapos for the moderator of our Q&A, please get ready. We'll be having it po right after just some of the names for our raffle. Sige po. Sige. So Miss Diane said, so we will electronically press it. 1, 2, 3, click. Okay, back room, guys. Anyway, sige. Thank you. Okay, stop. Okay, so this is Miss Beng Frost. Wow, congratulations. Yes. So the prize will be awarded by Miss Madge. So Miss Madge, please go ahead po.
Congratulations. So we're giving this giveaway from Fan Vision Optical. So you have free sunglasses, and then you have a worth 100 voucher from Fan Vision Optical. And there's a free cleaner.
Picture daw po, documentation. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so please remain on stage, Miss Madge, because we have other winners for our raffle. Okay. So if you're ready po, 1, 2, 3, spin. Stop. Okay, so our next, Feli Agader. Oh, congratulations. So Feli came all the way from Edmonton, and Miss Madge?
So Miss Roslyn gonna award.
So it came from our one of our sponsors. So it came from Uzumaki YYC Ramen House. So this one's for you.
Thank you. O, picture daw po. Okay. Ayan. So we have more lucky winners. So for our third raffle prize, sige po, ready? Click, spin the wheel. Stop. Dapat may background music, di ba? Okay. Ayan. So we have Cher Macduff. Cher Macduff here. Going once, going twice. Okay, so I think we forfeit because Cher McDuff isn't here. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Okay, we'll try again. Click. Yan, yung mga absent, walang prize. Okay, stop. Ayan. Abby Villanueva. Nako. Oh, Miss Abby is also not here. Okay. So, is that okay? We waive the prize. Sorry. Sige po, sorry. Click again. Ayan. Yeah. Pwede ma-endorse. Stop. Ala, stop, di ba? Para vanilla ice. Ayan. Day Pajarillo! Oh my gosh. Yes. Go ahead po. Our next prize is from
Sir,
thank you. It's not a Filipino party without a raffle, diba? Okay. Next po, click. And the last two winners for this round will have up po. Ala, stop. Rosandy Sabado. Rosandy Sabado here. Ayan. Oh, absent din. Sorry for me na. Sige po. Click. You know, presence is the essence. Stop. And Carolyn Nazareno. Here. Tomorrow. Okay, so forfeit ulit. Sorry guys. But more chances of winning for all of you are here. Stop. Hannes Anotado. What was Hannes here? Also tomorrow. Yes, so forfeit and stop. Mr. James Booten. Yes, first sponsor. He will give the prize. Thank you for your generous heart. And thank you for the delicious fancy there. Click po and stop. Rogelli Bigelow. Tomorrow din. Okay, so let's remove. Sorry po, forfeit. Once more. So don't forget we have day 1 and day 2 of the workshop. Mr. Fernando. Also absent. Okay, so one more. Okay, Whitney Owalari. Is Whitney here? Oh, Whitney also is absent. That's okay. Yeah, next up. For those who are joining via Zoom, so I'm not sure. Josephine Del Carco. Oh, congratulations. Also from Edmonton. From Thank you very much for tomorrow. We will be more beautiful. And we have one last raffle for this round. We'll have more over the day. So go ahead. Will be the lucky winner as we stop. Okay. Next here. Oh, congratulations. Salamat. Also another also from Ogunaki Wildlife Program. thank you very much to all our sponsors. And yes, more and more items to come. Don't go yet because we will also have the Q&A portion for all your burning questions. For Zoom and for those who are here, I'd like to request people to start distributing the mics. And for our open forum, I'd like to introduce our moderator for today. So for today, we have someone who has also been a pillar of the fashion industry. Mr. Ray Caparino, our moderator. So, our hands together naman. May mga fans. Yan. He is a native of Subic, Zambales, Philippines, and he holds an accounting degree when he migrated to Canada in year 2012. Kuya Ray is currently working with the government of Alberta. He's the chairman and owner of Bathala International, which aims to advocate for Philippine culture continuity. Their organization has been very active in multicultural events across Alberta and Canada in pursuit of their advocacy. So he's a TV host, eventologist, motivational speaker, pageant guru, I'm gonna pass, and a catalyst for community empowerment. So let's all put our hands together for our moderator, Kuya Ray Caparino. Thank you. For our Q&A po. Sige. For our couches there, para fireside chat. We'd also call to the front Mr. James Pooten as part of our Q&A. And of course, our host of our event for today, the Honorable Consul General Emma Sarde. Yeah. Yeah po. Ay, okay. Dito po. O, sige po. Ayan. Sige po. Go ahead, Kuya Ray.
All right, magandang gabi everyone. Good evening ladies and gentlemen, and we are stream live in Facebook and we are stream live. Hello Mabuhay Philippines and the whole world. My name is Ray Caparino. I'll be your moderator tonight and hopefully I'm awakening you tonight as well, or at least you won't be hungry, okay? So to start our Q&A portion, question and answer portion. So we won't be addressing it to any particular speaker. Maybe any of them can answer. First question: what are the traditional cultural colors? Or probably just to follow up, is a certain color identical with say with the Ifugao fabric, Inabel, or the Mindanao fabric?
Um, Hello. Uh, I want to put this out there as a disclosure. I do have to apologize in advance. I may not be the best resource for information, but I will do my best to at least answer the questions as best I can. As far as the tradition for um, woven materials coming from just the Igorots in general, I genuinely believe that there's no specific color. Um, the tradition itself is more heavy towards the actual pattern that's on these materials. So kind of doesn't matter what color there is, but the most unique part about at least Sagada weaving's tradition is that some materials are very exclusive only to people that have status in the community. So not everybody can actually use these materials. These ones that we have up here are definitely made for the public, but you'll find that when you actually go there, you'll see you may find different styles that are only actually exclusive to these people. As far as color, I don't specific color that's more significant than the other. I personally have seen a lot of the red and the green combos, the black and white combos. Just from my uncle's scarf, you can see the all three colors all in one item there. So yeah, I think that's my opinion on it.
If I may, I think what James has mentioned earlier was correct. A lot of reds we can see, whether it's from Sulu or in the Sagada region. And then I think your uncle was mentioning earlier about lavender not being a traditional color because obviously it's not one of the primary colors. So it's a combination of the primary colors. But earlier my colleague from the Mexican embassy and I were just talking, and we were sharing how these traditional patterns that we see. Maybe I'm not answering the question, going on into the pattern. But when I looked at some of the patterns and the colors that were used in the Mexican weaves, we find the similarity with the patterns and the colors that we have. So I guess it's safe to say that the traditional colors would be the reds and the yellows and the blacks, you know, and then of course the more non-traditional ones, as your uncle has mentioned, perhaps to try to move into the future, to try to move into the younger generation, you know, to go into the lavenders and to go into the browns, which are actually a mix of the primary colors.
Yeah, I agree on that one because in Mexico you imagine those big hats during those dances that's colored black and red as well. Also, the dance costumes are very radiant in red as well. So very Filipino and Mexico. Okay, Viva Mexico! All right, and of course we would like to acknowledge our presenters. Via Zoom we have Dr. Julius L. Llano Jr. also the director fourth of the OSCPTRI, and of course, Mr. Paulo Federico Ramos, the Executive Director of DTI Philippines Creative Industries Development Council Secretariat. And of course, we are joined here by Mr. James Putin. Okay. Of course, Miss Rambi Lim, of course, crafted Filipinas. Hello, Miss Rambi. Okay, moving on to the next question. How can one determine if the weave is authentic?
Could I answer that?
Sure. Yes, Miss Rambi, go ahead.
Yes, yes. For Philippine textiles, no, there is a variety, much variety of Philippine textiles, and each textile, each community or each indigenous people has their own colors and patterns. I think the work of TII and also the work of DTI, they've been working with, and as well as ourselves at Accident Bangsamoro, have been working with communities to be able to bring out and catalog their work so that we can identify um, patterns properly and distinguish it. I think it's through um, dialogue and through information that we can broadcast and also each pattern or each identifying designs from each community. For the color, the earlier question about color, um, it also depends on each indigenous group. For Sulu in particular, they use a lot of colors, about 12 colors in their weaving, but prominent would be green, orange, red, violet, and blue.
Question, Miss Rambi. So with all the imitations and lesser quality fabrics that's in the market, how does our like authentic fabric compete with them? Like, do we maintain a certain cost or yeah, a certain cost so as in the market we would compete fairly with the imitations?
Well, right now, a majority of Philippine textiles are woven on standing looms or the all hand woven or in backstrap looms. So a way to identify them is if they're more than 40 inches width and then long, that's most likely machine woven, and those are the patterns and textiles coming in from abroad. Um, Most of communities also do not have access or connections with anybody doing subliminal printing. So this is also if it's printed on, then that's definitely not from the communities, and they're borrowed and can be presumed as cultural appropriation. I think there still has to be a lot of information from each community to be able to ensure that each each pattern
These from Mr. Harlick Mirazol from Edmonton, from Harlick Productions. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say the country, fabrics proliferating in the Philippines that many Pinoy mistake as Pinoy fabrics. Is there anything being done to address this issue? Because like our neighboring countries would have the same fabric, very similar to ours.
Yes, sorry, I keep getting unmuted. Um, um, so this is actually supposed to be addressed by the government and also each community putting out their textiles. There aren't a lot of regulations out there. There are laws to be passed, but in terms of identifying them in the market and having them be labeled properly, that is still something that is really that needs to be addressed. For example, somewhere like in Davao, in a cultural area, they do sell textiles, and the sellers kind of push it as local textiles, but then the width of the then the length of it kind of are indications that it is not um hand woven or from the
I think we
normally
normally
the
the max
maximum width of loom woven textiles are about 25 to 36 inches in width, which is the arm span of the women of the weaver. So if anything more than that, then it's usually machine woven and imported.
I think also that Director Lianyo mentioned earlier about the digitization process, wherein information about these traditional weaves are imprinted on a QR code or on a digital code in each of these weaves. That way, you can scan it, you can see if it is original. And what Rambi Lim mentioned about certain characteristics, such as the width, the length, the dimensions of the actual fabric can also be an identifying factor for us to know whether it is original or not, which is why it is important for all of these information to be made public and to be made to be disseminated as widely as possible so that people will know. Because for example, for all of us here, as Ms. Rambi has mentioned, the certain dimensions of these fabric, but if we don't know, if you don't know that, oh, okay, so 25 inches is supposed to be the standard. So for 26, 27 inches, you would think that if the pattern is correct, you would think that, oh, this might have might be a piece or a pisyabit or must be coming from Mindanao. So definitely a lot of information is important. The dissemination of the public dissemination of the characteristics of these fabrics, which I think the DOST-PTRI is already in the process of doing.
All right, thank you, Konjen. Okay, we have here a comment from Michelle Pichet. The gentleman on the Zoom that spoke said that there were colors not used or not accessible in the early production years. Was it you, James? Oh yeah, uncle.
Yeah, it was my uncle. I believe the solid colors are actually more of the general colors that we use for the materials. As far as certain colors, they're more of the mix of these solid colors. I personally wouldn't really know the specific colors that aren't really available to the public. That's definitely something I have to look into. But yes, there's the idea that certain colors um, are really more exclusive to, I don't really want to say elders, but more people of status in the community.
Okay, thank you, James. We have another question from DFAOCD Kate Jinko. Weavers tend to buy imported cotton in China because of its affordability and availability. How accessible and affordable are yarns from the spinning centers, and what is the strategy of PTRI in ensuring that weavers are well informed and the supply is continuous?
First, the weavers are, of course, strategically located, well, the other way around. The spinning facilities are strategically located where weaving activities are. And the reason for, I mean, the access of the weavers, of course, is determined by the capability of the centers to produce at a certain range, at a certain scale and a certain volume of a certain period. Now, the accessibility depends, of course, on the operation of the centers. The centers must be operated not by government, because that's not intended for government to operate. It's actually intended for the private sector to operate. And that's exactly what we're doing now. That facility being offered and being proposed for collaboration with the private sector. However, ad interim, we continuously operate them as the one in Isabela. While we are waiting for the private sector to come in to operate it, we are actually the ones operating the facility at the moment. For them to access the yarns, aside from the yarns that we produce in Manila and also in the facilities, we continuously coordinate with them. That's why we continuously as well update our records and databases of weavers, because this is where information normally flows, not necessarily on social media, but definitely through the direct coordination and channels to them. We cannot publicize simply because the rates of the cotton yarns are not your typical divisoria rates. These are subsidized rates because it's government actually producing at the moment. These are catalytic in nature. They're meant to actually catalyze production. They're weavers to come and try and use it, because it's different getting and buying and then suddenly they would not be able to use it because their looms are not engineered or are not prepared to actually use that certain quality of cotton. So these are some of the considerations we have on the ground. But rest assured, we continuously promote and we continuously reach out to our weavers such that the access to these yarns and also the natural fiber blended yarns becomes even more widespread. I'd just like to comment on two things. One, on the concept of affordability. Sometimes affordability is an antithesis to this whole thing of going into the creative and to the traditional textiles. Because once you talk about affordability, you're pulling the discussion to the cost and cost regime. Means that you are putting cost and not actually real value into these textiles. So I refuse, personally at the very least, to take that conversation to cost issues because it kind of diminishes the cultural value of these materials. Parang nakikipagtawaran tayo sa palengke. And I do not think our cultural communities deserve to be priced at a certain low and sometimes often very oppressive pricing points that we normally know of the market. That's number one. So maybe there's a different discussion when we talk about traditional textiles because cost is not the only issue. Second consideration is when we consider textiles on the sustainability front. So when we continuously use cotton and polyester of course is something not necessarily good for the environment. Thus, when we put in cost, maybe the cost of producing cotton could also outweigh the cost of polyester when we consider polyester in its entire life cycle. So all of these are part of the conversation. It's not just economic. The cost is not just economic, but also sustainability in perspective, and also the socio-cultural dimension of it. So maybe we open that because there's a continuous debate as well as far as affordability and the real and true value of these Philippine textiles. I'd just like to comment on a very last note about color. Color is not anybody's culture's property. Color cannot be said this is Kalinga, this is exclusively ours. I think the question was framed actually as which is more predominant, but that puts a very confusing mark as to when do we determine what is traditional and what is contemporary. Traditional and contemporary is a timeline thing, meaning what is traditional to us could have been contemporary in the 1950s. What is traditional in the 1950s could have been contemporary in the turn of the century. So all of these are very relative. I think the better anchor to color or colorimetrics, if you want to call it, is the affinity or the relevance or the correlation of color and the natural environment of our indigenous communities. Example, black, for example, is a common color in the Cordillera. Black, why? Because black can be obtained from the extracts of plant leaves and plant barks, but when you tuck them or bury them into, for example, the rice terraces of Banawe, the high iron content of the rice terraces soil turns those pigments black. So technically, the natural environment dictates the prevalence or the presence of a certain color in certain culture. But that doesn't mean that it's only Banawe Ifugao who owns black. So I think this good correlation could actually be seen in a lot of cultures because some of them, for example, have yellows because yellow ginger grows abundantly in the Cordillera. You cannot find as much blue, for example, in, say, Benguet, but you find them in Abra because in Abra, our local tayum plant grows abundantly in Abra, but they do not grow necessarily in highland Benguet. So all of these are, things that we encounter on the ground, but it could be a better way of putting how colors are part of our culture. Again, let me just remind you that defining things to be traditional would be very, very relative. So what would be traditional to us now would not have been traditional 50 years ago. And what is contemporary now for us could be traditional 50 years down the line. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah, we will try to provide you, despite it being covered by data privacy issues. We'll get you a directory of sort. I think we're doing it in social media such that it's a little bit more public. But these direct lines would be direct lines to the weavers. It might not be as comprehensive, but at least those are the ones whom we have worked with, whom we could vet their how do you call it, their turnaround times, and also their reliability in addressing orders, especially online. So maybe you can send that through the consulate. Again, it's not yet the official list. Once the Salin Habi website will be up, we'll also be sharing it to you. The Salin Habi website, I think I just discussed it briefly in my presentation, is a phone-based app that allows you to access the different weavers and weaving communities. So it's like Facebook. So they have their own account there. You could transact directly in that app. That is voluntary. It's not actually mandatory for the weavers. So whoever would be part of that website or that app, you'd be able to access them. Hopefully before the end of the Arts Month, and I'm referring to the end of February, we will be able to hopefully finish the beta testing and already start letting people access it in a more practical, more inclusive way. So just please stand by. There's a lot of effort to put them together. I know that a lot of other agencies as well and other private institutions have set of weavers whom they work with, and have to know and actually be provide and are actually reliable in their transactions, especially overseas. Particularly sure if you have discounts. I don't. Yeah. Yeah. I don't. I'm not sure. To transact with you directly. Pricing is not controlled by government. It's actually controlled solely under the discretion of the weavers themselves. So we do not meddle, particularly in PTRI. I don't know if the DTI has mechanisms, but for the Textile Research Institute, as I intimated to you earlier, personally, I do not want to meddle with the pricing. The pricing is the sole prerogative of the weavers. If they want to price it at 10,000 pesos per yard, by all means, they can command it at 10,000 pesos per yard, then we do not object. But we object sometimes when they price it too low because it's also not very nice for the other players that they pull the prices very, very low. and hopefully us as consumers would not also be pushing them too much on the wall, that they are actually forced to price it too low, because you might see them today, but they will not. You might not able to see them anymore tomorrow, because the prices might not be too nice or too friendly for businesses. So. Handle with the pricing. The pricing is
We met in Paris for a fashion and art show. I asked her to buy me tela from the, the Baguio, um, the weave cloths. So, and then she saw my painting. She told me that the the design of the skirts for the, because I painted the sayaw sa banga, and she told me that the designs for the pattern are sacred to the, like the katutubo over there. So is that any truth in that? Because can I use it for my paintings, or am I desecrating the whatever indigenous traditions for our culture? Because here, if I use the indigenous sign, I have to consult the elders. So that's why I want also to give respect to.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. It is a very valid question too as well. Specifically coming from Baguio, which is actually just to give more context, Baguio is now more of a melting pot of a lot of different tribes, right? I'm talking specifically more about my tribe, or at least my community in Sagada, but there are other communities like Pontoc, Bisao, and many others that may have different traditions when it comes to these patterns and then materials. At least from my end, from our community, I can definitely tell you that there will be some patterns where you cannot paint over or you cannot even use at all in general. um these ones specifically, I may have to double check, but I really don't see any issue if you want to use it for something else. From my from when I was having this conversation with my uncle, for them, as long as you're doing justice to their materials, as long as you're turning it into something beautiful, they are honored to have you do whatever you want with their materials. They're very careful about putting out materials that aren't supposed to be given out to the public anyway, so it's not we're not really too worried about the disgrace or whatever you want to call it. But in terms of having permission, if you really want to be specific, I have my contact information here somewhere. I mean, my things in the back there. If you want to save my number, if you really want to dive into it, I can find you contacts, people that we can ask, just so we can get you more information on at least the whatever you're trying to achieve. We're more than happy to help with that.
If I may, no, I'm not actually going to answer that because I'm not from Baguio. But definitely, I think what they mentioned and what Director Liano and Rambi Lim have mentioned, our speakers have mentioned, there is always this intersection of the different arts. You know, there, as James has mentioned, there are certain weaves, there are certain fabrics that can only be used by certain people. So there's no fear of it being desecrated because it will not be made available to you anyway. But when we were curating this exhibit, we were told that certain fabrics cannot touch the ground. Certain fabrics, such as the tinalak, that's why it's so big. That's why it's so long. It's because you don't. At least I was told. I don't know if that's true or not. I was told that it only comes in 10 yards, and if you cannot just cut it, you have to have an elder um, pray first and cut it, and the way of cutting it is not through a pair of scissors but through their teeth. So I was just telling Vida, bakit hindi mo pa kasi pinangat before coming here, because it's so huge. But yes, there are certain traditions that are peculiar to each weave, and I think that is what makes it more that's what makes it more special. That's why Director Liano was didn't want to talk about price, putting a price to it, because obviously, how can you put a price to tradition? How can you put a price to culture? And I guess but I also understand what Day is mentioning, because you wanted to honor that tradition. You wanted to honor that culture by creating something different. I know, an Hermes bag, if you paint over it, it becomes even more expensive. So yes, we are in that area now where there is cross collaboration among the arts and the artists. So I guess this is a question as well for DTI and for DOST. How can we harness this type of collaboration that honors our tradition, our cloth weaving, our weaving tradition, and how it intersects with new forms of art?
Great, great. Well, that's exactly what part of the station during the deliberation of the Philippine Creative Industries Act. You have the creative industry, which technically harnesses, of course, the arts and our traditional patterns of design, part of the inspiration. And of course, you have the traditional art, which of course kind of have polarized themselves. So it's actually a conversation. I agree with you with the term. It's a conversation of the creative industries, because the question was, if you protect too much, so what will happen to derivative creative expression? Now, if you open it too much, for example, what will happen with the other end? So there should be a very good and sweet balance of the two. Now, the conversation is found further compounded because of the concept of intellectual property rights. Intellectual property rights in the Philippines is a Western thought. You are technically assigning property to a single person, which does not or is not possible to certain indigenous knowledge systems in the Philippines. For example, an Ilocano is part of a group, and maybe they are associated with the Abel, but not a single Ilocano could claim it, for example. And that's the same for all the other textiles. I'll just zero in with textiles. Now, if that's the case, then there's a higher order of intellectual property, which is what we actually know in our culture. So, for example, if we know that it's woven by the Ilocanos, then there should be profound respect, with or without the presence of any intellectual framework, which is, again, a Western thought. So where do we draw that line between using it now for creative expression or maybe downstream creative expression? One case in point was, it's a technical pattern, but you want it to be transferred, for example, in paper, meaning you want to print exactly the same pattern or that pattern on paper. Technically, an intellectual property laws, that those are already different media, different expressions already. So technically, they constitute a different set of intellectual property. But we know for a fact, or at least morally, that is not so, or that's not proper. So those are the conversations that we need to actually try to, start putting forward as to whether or who is actually in charge of protecting it. I think in the Philippines, at the very least, the National Commission on Indigenous People is the one actually who has oversight on the protection of indigenous cultural properties. And part of their free and prior informed consent, that's actually a procedure that they make sure that you actually consult with the communities. I think consultation would be better, or is the way to go. You cannot get a blanket authority from the NCIP and then proceed with whatever business or whatever creative expressions you have using, of course, traditional crafts or traditional textiles. So conversation with the communities is paramount. They might allow, but again, be also very conscious, because in a community, as I said, not a single one of them owns that or could dispose of that by themselves. So maybe it's good or okay for those that you have talked to, but maybe in the other barangay they would object. So this is part of the complexity of that discussion. But again, then again, at the end of all of these discussions, it's just simply based on respect. We respect where these icons come from. We respect when an intellectual property is not originally ours. We acknowledge properly, we attribute properly, and most importantly, do not attribute it to yourself if they are not original creations of yourself. And I think that goes for both artists and scientists alike. So again, the whole idea of all of this is really founded on respect. So once we know and once we are aware, that's why we continuously promote, because awareness is a huge part of it. There are some who actually commit mistakes because they are not aware. So we continuously conduct all of these conferences for these discussions, because they are meant really to raise the level of awareness of what truly is ours. If we could just zoom it out a bit, it's really just about knowing ourselves. It's knowing our culture, because sometimes tayo mga Pilipino, hindi natin din kilala yung sarili natin. So it's really, the start is really in where we start discovering what we have, what we possess, and what we actually own as a nation, as a country, and as a people. So I don't know if I ever shed any light to that question, but it's really an ongoing conversation, not just on the legal front, but also on the moral and economic side of it as well.
Could I answer this question? Yes. Sorry. I think there is a problem in terms of using some textiles, particularly for those textiles from groups that use it for religious, and cultural significance. No, I think the challenge is not just for us as buyers, but also for the communities to share and to put out products or textiles that highlight their skills and capabilities, but kind of shy away from the cultural context. This is, I would say, ongoing work of myself, PTRI and DTI, because we have to realize that the number of Philippine textiles that are available is quite. There are about 53 traditional weaving communities around the Philippines in remote places. So it's still a work in progress in terms of identification of their own indigenous textiles. At the same time, having them figure out what to sell outside their own communities. And as Dr. Liano just said, it's really through discussion and communication. I think it's also important, if we use these textiles for inspiration or for in another form, there still has to be dialogue and recognition. It's important to we hope that more sellers and more weavers are more upfront with the origins of the textiles that they're selling. But at the same time, it's still a work in progress.
All right, thank you, Rambi. And I think we don't have any question anymore. Okay, is there any question? One more. Okay, yes, please.
Hello, good evening. All right, I think my last question, before that, I'm Katie Faith from Hibla Page Canada. We are a local affiliate of Hibla Philippines that has 13 weaving communities in the Philippines. So my question is, in today's time, as we may know about generative AI, so I know I think it get closer. Okay, so since we touched on intellectual property, I know designs and weavers and origins are very important in context. So, what is the most proactive, simple step that everybody can exercise interculturally so that we protect the integrity of textiles around the world?
Well, in the Philippines in particular, documentation is critical. And I know that the National Commission of for Culture and the Arts has done tremendous and enormous work already in documentation. By documentation, we mean they can attribute properly. It's academically done, meaning all the information needed are actually there. But my thing there is, of course, you have a reference, and that reference is a reference as, again, it's a function of time. We did it at this age or in this age. So what we probably have seen or have documented are things that have happened in the past. But continuously, whether that intelligence is artificial or natural intelligence, these textiles continuously evolve. Cultures continuously talk, meaning the Abra culture continuously talk to the lowland Ilocos culture, for example. There's an exchange of patterns, exchange of ideas, and culture technically is in a flux. So aside from anchoring it to what has already been documented, which is, I think, the most proactive and the easiest default way for us to have a reference for what we could consider as quote-unquote pure, at least in this age, then we could determine what would come after as probably derivatives of those work, or maybe probably as well an output of generative intelligence or generative AI. The disruption provided by artificial intelligence is something which we cannot avoid. Whether we like it or not, artificial intelligence is here. Unfortunately, sometimes artificial intelligence gets across with our own natural intelligence. And I'm not referring to textile design, but our ability to discern. And this generative AI technically compounds also many other patterns that we have. We might only have, for example, 100 original patterns, but generative AI can actually generate even more out of those patterns. So this is not something in the future, this is the now. And we are confronting that exactly through this collaborative effort across government agencies, and also committing all of these designs in a digital platform. It has been a conversation in the Philippines because going digital has always been equated to going online, which is not similar. A lot of our cultural agencies or cultural patrons, if you want to call them, has been very averse to committing them to their digital twins. But that's our only way out to be able to sort out what is present now and what would eventually be later generated from the multiple iterations of artificial intelligence. And all of these things are confronting the industry. That's why the database that probably NCCA has, and I know they have, can be made public, can be made accessible, and I hope that indeed it really could come out such that we will be very well aware of what traditional patterns and motifs we have, and then later on also discern and be able to determine what was a derivative thereafter of these patterns or from this pattern data sets.
All right, thank you so much, sir. And that wraps up our question and answer session. Thank you so much to our speakers and all the questions. Thank you.
Much po. Thank you, Chairman of Bathala International, our moderator, Kuya Ray Caparino, Consul General Emma Sarne, and Mr. James Puoten, as well as our guests who joined us online, Director Julius Leaño of DOST, Ms. Rambi Lim of Crafted Filipinas, and Deputy Executive Director, Ms. Paulo Federico Ramos. So I think I'm the only one keeping you from the food. So, so for our dinner and networking reception, someone was asking about the dietary, the allergy needs. So I think we have traditional Filipino food there. So we have gluten, but we also have vegetarian choices as well as the usual meat-based dishes at the back. But of course, feel free to join and enjoy our networking dinner. But before that, of course, it's our raffle. So we have more prizes to be awarded. Miss Madge Manaay Morales, may I invite you to come to the stage? Oh, and yes, here's our spin a wheel that's ready. So, handa na ba kayo? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, spin. Yan. Our next set of prizes. Stop. Sabi na Vanilla Ice eh. Ala, stop. Ace Antonio. Do we have Ace Antonio? Ay, congratulations. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so Miss Madge, may I request if you can award the prize to Mr. Antonio? Oh, may background music pa.
Hi, good evening. I would like also to acknowledge one of our sponsors, Miss Glorified here. So she gonna explain the special raffle prize for Mr. Ace Antonio.
Bongga, $500. Okay. So next po, let's spin the wheel. Maybe you're the next lucky winner. Stop. So next po, Ray C. Tano. Is Ray Tano here? Ray C. Sorry, forfeit, absent. Okay, so we have more chances of winning. Okay, stop. Okay, we have Mercy Maddox. Is Mercy Maddox here? Okay, tomorrow, one of the competitors. Sorry, Mercy. Next, we have Carol Asperas. Also tomorrow. Okay. So next, sorry na lang sila. Yeah. Stop. Baka dapat may manual bunot, no? Jomar Deser, are you here? Okay. Ay, oh, Sister Jobs pala, our official photographer. Yay! Congratulations. Yes mo.
Congratulations, John. Perfect. From Miss Glorife, may I call Miss Glorife again? It's gonna be very helpful for you, Joms, and she's gonna explain to you.
Yes, Jones. Yeah, I think you and I know each other. We worked together with RH, Ross Henderson. Um, so for this is another $500 specifically for branding, marketing, and for any type of marketing design. So that includes social media, that includes making sure correct. And once again, with grants, you're a photographer, you're an artist, and there are grants available for you. Yes. So this is for you. Congratulations. Yes. So much.
Thank you, Miss Glorife. So our next winner, let's spin the wheel. Yan, high-tech na yung raffle. Once upon a time, we used to like gather slips of paper, roll around your hand, get COVID, but now you can stop and you'll have the prize digitally. Okay, Nicole Reyes. Is Nicole here? Oh, I think she's gonna join us tomorrow. So forfeit. Yeah, so there are fewer and fewer names. That means you have more chances of winning. Kashif Majid. Do we have Kashif? Okay, so also for tomorrow, forfeit. We actually have over 100 registrants, so these are only just a few. Okay, so congratulations to Mary Grace Lozadas, also absent. Okay, sorry. So next, stop. Faye Cutler. Is Faye Cutler here? Also no for tomorrow. Okay, next. So we have people joining our fashion workshop. And they have a chance to experience real banana fiber weaves. Okay, so next, Jewel. Is Jewel here? Okay, wala. Puro tomorrow para Jewel Torre. Okay, next po. Jewel in the palace. Okay. Yan, stop. Lee Zhang. Is Lee Zhang here? Yeah, buntik ng Lenny. Okay, sorry. I think Lee Zhang is joining us tomorrow. Skip again. So in the meantime, for those who want to experience the Filipino food, our buffet is ready. So you can start getting the dinner from the back while we're having a raffle ongoing. And Azucena. Is Anne Azucena here? Oh, congratulations! Wow. So welcome and congratulations. Miss Roslyn for the prize. Go ahead, please, ma'am.
Oh yeah, so this one is from one of our sponsor from Eden Spa and Skin Clinic. So if you want to do some facials or some to make you more glowing, so visit Eden Spa and Skin Clinic.
Yeah. So thank you very much to Eden Spa. This is your chance for a massage and spa services. Yeah, thank you po. Okay, for our next winner, ayan, we're having a working dinner, raffle and dinner together. Yeah. Okay, stop. Ayan. Tito Ron Ala. Ayan, I think Tito Ron is not here, but he's one of our sponsors. Sige po, so let's remove. Ayan. Okay, stop. Mapas ba? Okay, Eve Doucet. Is Eve Doucet with us? Ayan, absent then, forfeit. This is very challenging to do a raffle with a lot of people, right? So, okay. But that's okay. That means you can win some more. And for those who want to start having dinner, you can proceed to the back. So the buffet is open as well. Beatrix Paras. Oh, si Bea. Wala. Are you here? Okay, yes. Congratulations po. Yeah. So we have a prize. Perfect. Okay.
So this came from Pacific Hut and then also the Pacific Hut Bakers, breads and gifts from them. Welcome.
Thank you. Picture daw po. Ayan, maraming salamat. Yan. So Miss Paras was part of our consulate family. So welcome back. Yan. Okay, so let's spin the wheel again. Stop. Ayan, this is your chance to mingle, network, get to know each other, to touch the fabrics. Ayan, and we have Miss Lenny Zuniga. Woo! Congratulations! Si Coach Len, we are launching a new program of coaching for mental health. So yeah, here's one of our providers, Coach Len Zuniga. Ayan, so for the prize, may we call on our sponsors? Ayan na, dala-dala pa. Ang dami, fresh na fresh. Freshly baked, bongga. Yeah. Ito na pang breakfast niyo bukas.
They're from Pacific Hut Restaurant and Pacific Hut Bakers. Freshly baked.
Yeah, you're welcome. Ayan, 'di ba? Meron ng pa-dinner, may pa-almusal pa, 'di ba? So when you join consulate events, ayan, so they said thou shalt not live by bread alone except if it's bread from Pacific Hut and PH Bakers. Oh, salamat Kuya Buboy. Yeah, thank you. The list. Okay, so I think that's the end of our raffle because we will have more prizes for tomorrow. And at this point, I'd like to also say a special thank you to our sponsors. So while you're enjoying your dinner, I hope that you get to say thank you to the representatives from Department of Science and Technology, Philippine Textile Research Institute, the Department of Trade and Industry, Avarinth CA, Crafted Filipinas, House of Musa, JP Briones, Spotlight Coron International, Bathala International, and Easy Tech Innovations. We'd like to say thank you as well to YYC Truckers, ECC Agency, House of Musa Canada, Fam Vision Optical, Fam Health and Wellness, Pacific Hot Bakery, Pacific Hot Restaurant, Verde Skin and Laser Therapy, Uzumaki YYC Ramen, Jasmine's Authentic Luxury Purses, Happy Bunny Booth. So tomorrow, if you want to have 360 photo booth, yeah, so come here. Even if you're not joining the Calgary Fashion Challenge, it's your chance to have 360 photo booth tomorrow. Leia V Skincare and Laser Clinic, Chev Fashion Looks, Chev MSN, Jobs Graffiti, Miles Jewelry and Luxury Shop, AV Ventures, Eden Spa and Skin Clinic, Hinotori Consulting Solutions, Gloryfair and Company Limited, Primeverse, Lira Suites, Doc One, The Villa, FSE Financial Services, and all those who came together and made this event possible. While you're also enjoying the dinner and networking, please visit the booth of Hibla PH Canada. So Katie Faith Campilan is right there, so she can show you the products that they have. And with that, I want to say thank you very much po to all of you for joining. Maraming salamat po for participating in our launch. And of course, let's not forget, this is our chance to say thank you to Radyo Pinoy, 94.7 FM with Tito Red, One Manila. So later, if you are approached by our journalists or media partners, I hope that you give your best smile for their media interviews. Yan. So we also have with us, of course, our Philippine Consulate General in Calgary team. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you, mga kababayan. Thank you, colleagues. And for everyone here, I know parting is such sweet sorrow, but we shall say goodbye until tomorrow. Oh, and of course, for those who are joining tomorrow, can we call to the stage Miss Malia Abinir to just share some details about the workshop tomorrow? Oh, yeah. And go ahead, Miss Malia.
Hi guys. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. How are you today? Good. Naka-short naman ako, kuya. So tomorrow, I will be teaching a sewing workshop where we're gonna learn about how to do a terno butterfly sleeve in like 1 hour. And then we're gonna have a sewing challenge for the group. So whoever wins the challenge gets a chance to showcase their look at CFAO and also Bathala. So it's gonna be exciting for the young designers. But yeah, do you guys have any questions? Thank you. Tara na, shot na. Jokes. But everyone who's coming tomorrow, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'm excited to meet 9 o'clock sharp, you guys. We don't do late. Huh? For more, pwede rin audience for moral support. Nag-hire din kami ng background dancers. So thank you guys so much for coming here, and yeah, have a wonderful night. So I'm just gonna give the microphone to Ate Vida.
Thank you very much to our award-winning fashion designer, Miss Malia Abinir, for tomorrow. So if you want to have your own Sagada weaves, you will have your own Tinalak weaves. You will have Abaca silk as our prizes. We are also giving away the stuff that you're going to be using, the banana fiber from the OSTPTRI as the base outfits. And if you win the prize, you can have the chance to be the featured designer at the Calgary International Fashion and Arts Week and at Bathala International, the Descent of the Gods. So if you want to have your break, this is it. This is your chance to design and be part of the runway. Sumali po tayo bukas. It's free to join, but you have to give your best and participate po tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So with that, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the evening. Good night.